noise was deafening, the tiny droplets kicked up by the helicopter hit my head, the salt burned in my head wound, while hooked by a thin cable to a...
Wait. Hey, dude, tell it from the beginning. People don't know what happened. Tell it from the beginning.
Okay, I'll start from the beginning. Okay. Today I'm going to tell you a story. And it's going to be one of those stories that we all like to hear, but that none of us would like to have to tell. A story that, like all stories worth telling, has emotions, adventures, and why not to say it, misfortunes. Today I'm going to tell you the story of how chance in the sea and in life in general can play against us, and how a beautiful day of sailing can become in a few minutes a set of terrible misfortunes for which, I will be honest, it is very difficult to be prepared. One of those stories that you replay 1,001 times in your mind in fast motion, trying to understand what you did wrong without any chance to change anything. But you learn from everything, and I'll give you a little spoiler. If I'm recording this, it's because at least I managed to get out of all this more or less unscathed. You can't miss it. Let's go to our story.
To see it in a mess, eh?
I'm telling you.
Pa ver la lío.
What's your problem, chickie? The day dawned with fog. The temperature of the last days was unusually high, and it dawned without wind. Spring had just sprung. The days were longer and sunnier, and the children had already been dropped off at school. As in previous days, the fog would soon dissipate, and everything pointed to a nice, calm day of sailing with friends. The forecast was very good. A gentle northeast from noon, little sea, sun, and pleasant temperatures, especially for us northerners. We were offered a perfect opportunity to have an aperitif on board on the way to the Bocana de la Bahia. Then, with the wind coming in, we could take advantage of the opportunity to sail a little. So we stayed on the boat, and as on many other occasions, we set out preparing the table for the aperitif and sailing slowly while waiting for the wind. As we sailed around the bay, we took the opportunity to have an aperitif. I disengaged myself and left the boat in the hands of Marta, or, well, really anyone who wanted to drive the wheel. Food, relaxed conversation. What more could one ask for? Already out of the bay, a little breeze was starting to come out, and we were able to take out the sails, turn off the engine, and start sailing. A perfect and calm day. I consider myself a moderately prepared skipper, always thinking about what can happen, always attentive, used to sailing alone, and that everything depends on me. I control even the smallest detail of my boat, and I have redundant equipment, bailing means, additional power systems, and when the circumstances are bad, I am very prepared with harness, lifeline, and trying to leave the cockpit as little as possible so as not to compromise my safety. Well, that doesn't stop me from being a sea Sundayer.
That's what I was going to tell you. You're getting too high.
No, I'm a sea Sundayer, I always say so. I can talk a lot of shit about electronics, but I don't know much about the sea. Because what happens to me is what happens to all of us. When the day is beautiful, you're close, you're with friends, you go and relax. And luck is capricious, and at sea you never know what awaits you. Besides, as I'm used to sailing alone, when I go with friends, I don't put much effort into making them do things, or instructing them on where things are, or how to act in case of emergency. I usually let them take the wheel, the easiest thing to do, and I take care of the rest myself. Anyway, we're just going for a ride. Your first day on a boat?
Well, the second, the third, but come on, with sails like that, none. Maybe you'll let me carry it a little bit.
Come on, I trust you. Come on, I'll go with him so he doesn't break anything. Don't worry, come on.
Oops, this moves a lot.
Of course, this is valid as long as you are on board and capable. But I tell you that luck is capricious and that chance can and will play against you. We were sailing under sail, good speed and little sea, ideal to enjoy. There had been many days of heavy rains before, and this was the first day we could go out and enjoy. The boat looked easy to handle, and I let Marcos drive the wheel for a while and feel his first sensations. While standing next to him, I explained some things to him. The rest of us, seated, enjoyed the sailing protected from the air. The impact was not terrible. It was not the Titanic. We had not hit an iceberg, but it was strong enough for me to be thrown off without the possibility of holding on, and my head hit hard against the entrance of the ship.
What has happened?
I must have hit something. David! David is not responding.
Check if he is conscious.
Are you all right, David?
Check if he is breathing.
Yes.
Put your finger under his
Yes,
nose.
he's breathing, but he's not answering me. David, David, what do we do?
Then it all went out. For a few minutes, I can't tell you what happened because I blacked out.
We were very attentive to the truth. What happened is that suddenly appeared as a very large trunk that was submerged, practically submerged in the water, a very big noise, and David fell and hit his head. He lost consciousness and was bleeding. Then we were very worried.
I was sitting next to Marta, and the truth is that the only thing that the blow did was to squeeze us a little bit and nothing else. But the one I could see flying was David. What a knock he took, by the way.
I thought I screwed up. 3 minutes, that leaves me on the boat, and he messed it up. And thank goodness Marta was there, because a sailboat is very difficult to steer. People think that it's just a matter of moving the rudder. And no, you have to know how to steer it. You don't know where everything are, the life jackets, the medicines, the bandages. I mean, if the captain is out of action, there's no way to do anything.
The sails were flapping, and the first reaction was to start the engine and lower the sails. From there, when David regained a little consciousness, although he was very dizzy and disoriented, we calmed down, and the next thing to do was to ask for help.
The light came back to my brain when I was already sitting on a seat and Marta had bandaged my head. I immediately asked what had happened, but I was not able to do anything either. I was still dizzy, somewhat confused, and with a severe headache. In my brain at that moment, there was a loud beeping sound. I don't know, I hear like a beep like this.
A beeping sound?
Everyone
Yes.
hears it, don't worry.
When he regained consciousness, he started to say he heard a beep, but it turns out that the beep was heard by all of us, and none of us knew what it was.
The bilge water alarm had started to sound. Water was coming in from somewhere.
We have a water leak.
A couple of minutes later, the bilge pump started running. The presence of water was already noticeable. It was obvious we had a water leak. Fortunately, I am very well prepared for this. I know the boat inside out, and I have the means to solve almost any problem of this type. Life jackets for everyone. Start the engine, make sure the exhaust is leaking, and start up all the available bailing equipment while I go around the boat closing seacocks and looking for the leak with the toilet paste in my hand. The problem is that I was unable to do that at the time. If I ducked my head a little, the world was spinning and I wouldn't even consider going below for any reason. I could barely give Marta a few instructions while she was trying to pull up the jackets and close the seacocks she was able to find. The water kept rising little by little. The waterway was not appearing. We needed help.
If only I had been there to bring some order.
Sure, you would have been filming and having a drink, and you would say, keep the fridge running, don't let the wine get wet.
Touché?
There are 1,000 different ways to call for help on a modern boat, and Marine Rescue is listening in on all of them. The distress button on the digital radio, the 900 and 200 and 202 and of course the traditional Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. From that moment on, everything was in Marta's hands, and I was lucky to have taken my most experienced and experienced friend, Captain, with me that day. Although she didn't know the boat or my 1,000 tricks, at least she knew the safety procedure inside out. She pressed the distress button and repeated the call on channel 16.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. This is sailboat Samey, Samey, Samey. We have had an accident and need help. Over.
Samey, Samey, Samey. This is Maritime Rescue Service Santander. Please tell me your position.
Maritime Rescue, this is Samey Sailboat. We are about 2 miles north of Santa Marina. Over.
Samey, Samey, Maritime Rescue. If you can tell me how many people are on board.
Rescue Service, here Samey Sailboat. There are 4 people on board and we have had an injured person who has hit his head and is bleeding a lot. Over.
Say me, Maritime Rescue Santander. Yes, I have you located on the AIS screen. We are going to mobilize the units, the helicopter, and our boat Salvamar will go. They are heading to your position. Stay calm and put on your life jackets.
Maritime Rescue, here sailboat Sami. Instructions received, we proceed to follow them. We put on the life jackets and we remain to the listening. Over.
Okay, received. Therefore, be calm that in 20 minutes the units arrive to evacuate the casualty.
Time passes very slowly when you are in trouble waiting for help. We were immediately reassured by Sea Rescue, as it was not clear what my real condition was. Today, as a precaution, they would proceed to evacuate me by helicopter to take me to the hospital. At the same time, the salvage ship would come to ensure the return of the rest of the crew to the port. The distance was not far and the ship had a working engine and the situation seemed to be under control. Before we knew it, we could hear the sound of the helicopter in the distance. At that very moment, we were called on the radio directly from the helimer with the first instructions.
This is Sami, we are ready. Over.
We will be over your position in about 15 minutes, a little less. Everyone in the outside of the boat should be wearing a life jacket and gloves. We will descend one of our rescuers and he will enter the boat from water. Once the rescuer is on the boat, he will let you know the rest of the tasks. Please pass it on to the people on deck as well. I need you to repeat the message, please.
This is Sami for Helimer. We have the sails down. We have the life jackets on. Personnel are going to have gloves on deck, and instructions are being relayed. Over.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. We will be arriving shortly. Haul in the sails, stow anything that might fly away. Everyone on deck had to have life jacket and gloves on and disengage the engine. Given the difficulties and the multitude of obstacles present on the deck of a sailboat, we were told that the helicopter would stay clear of the boat. The rescuer would swim in from the water with further instructions, and we were to stop the engine and stay adrift. We did so. The noise when the helicopter was next to us was impressive. Just a couple of boat lengths away and about 20 meters high. The air from the rotor formed a circle in the water and even made us drift. Real waves were forming and an intense and constant rain of fine salt-laden droplets enveloped us on all sides. The little wind caused the water to shoot out in all directions. Radio communication was very difficult and we had to go down into the interior to hear anything. The helicopter remained static next to us for a while until it opened the door and the figure of the rescuer could be seen descending a few meters away from us. The rescuer descended into the water and swam up to the boat and climbed aboard. The instructions were clear. A guideline would keep us connected to the crane cable hook at all times. This line could only be held by hand and was not to be made firm anywhere. Marta took responsibility for the guide while Marcos tried to keep the boat, with which in reality was no longer effective, and what was driving us was the contrast between the real wind and the one generated by the helicopter itself. We were hopelessly sideways to the wind. He evaluated my condition, located the best place to perform the evacuation, and once everything was decided, the process began. They lowered the hook with the harness again, brought it closer with the guideline, removed it and raised the hook again. As they held the guide with some tension and leaving a gentle curve to the helicopter, he helped me put the harness under my shoulders. The helicopter approached, lowered the hook again, we both tied ourselves to the hook and prepared to climb. My feet barely touched the water and the ascent began. was deafening. The tiny droplets lifted by the helicopter hit me in the head. While hooked by a thin cable we ascended, but the ascent was very fast and immediately I felt a hand dragging me inside the helicopter. They checked my condition, settled me in the seat, put some headphones on me so they could talk to me and secured me. They say that the captain is the last one to leave a ship and I could only feel sorry for leaving my ship and crew in that situation. We gained altitude and headed back. Here ended my adventure on board, but not that of the ship or its crew. When we set off, we could already see the Salvamar approaching the ship, although we soon lost sight of them, while at our feet the landscape was advancing towards the airport. What I'm going to tell you now is what happened according to what I was told and what was recorded in the multitude of cell phones and cameras that were on board. Because nowadays, in the face of adversity, it seems that the most important thing is to record. As soon as they hoisted the rescuer, Marta proceeded to start the engine to try to return to port as quickly as possible, but the engine would not start. The water had reached high enough to short-circuit the batteries, and all electrical systems began to fail in cascade. Maybe we shouldn't have shut him down and just disembarked him. Only the tablet that was out and the portable radio were still working. The bilge pump also stopped and the water was rising even faster. Luckily, the rescue boat was already in sight and it looked like it might be able to save the situation. Over the radio, Marta contacted the salvage and reported that we were out of maneuver.
We are approaching to pass through the motor.
Perfect, we are ready, change.
We're going to come alongside on our port side, on your starboard side.
Received.
The normal thing would have been to start bailing with the hand pump while we waited, but it is difficult to locate it when no one has told you where it is. The salvage vessel approached starboard side as instructed. They secured the vessel to its side by putting fenders between the two and quickly prepared a powerful gasoline bilge pump to empty the boat. They ran a hose into the boat and in a moment they were pumping water out at full speed. The level began to drop rapidly. With the water leak under control, they proceeded with the boat towing operation. The sea was calm and the safest way to keep everything under control was to tow directly approached. Towing this way was slower but allowed full control and the use of the bilge pump whenever required. The crew remained on the ship all the way as they toured the bay on their way to the harbor. From the control room, they alerted the Marina that we were arriving with a water leak.
Good morning, Marina del Cantabrico.
Hello, Marina del Cantabrico. This is Maritime Rescue Santander. The vessel Sami has a water leak, and they are proceeding there to see if they have the crane available.
Okay, now I'll talk to the team leader to get on it and get the boat out as soon as possible, okay? That they're coming with the Sami to tow to pull him up, but that's not the YouTuber. What a mess. He's got so many Chinese, and they get stuck in the water.
At the entrance, the crane was ready waiting for us with the water already under control. They helped us to restart the engine and the boat made the last few meters to the crane under the watchful eye of all the port staff who escorted us. And here, the adventure of the Sami ends. We landed at the airport and with our foot on land, everything recovered a certain normality. An ambulance was waiting for me and at the hospital they checked my condition and immediately discharged me with a nice new scar. The crew, worried about my condition, contacted me. I was worried about the state of my boat, well, and a little bit also about the crew. I was anxiously waiting for that call.
We managed to talk to David on the phone to see that he was fine, that it had not been anything serious, and that everything was under control, and that's when we could breathe.
Meanwhile, in the control room, they went back to their routine.
Okay, copy that. The emergency end then, so thank you.
The helicopter was getting ready for the next emergency, and the crew of the Salvamar was returning to the port to prepare everything for a new emergency. For them, it was just another day at the office. For us, it was the adventure of a lifetime. As I told you at the beginning, today I came to tell you a story, a very real story that could have happened to anyone, but luckily it did not happen to us.
What do you mean? It wasn't true?
It wasn't true.
It wasn't true?
What we have told you today has been an exercise, a rehearsal, a training for maritime rescue, a crash course for us, and above all a reality check to reflect on how prepared we want to be and how little we are actually prepared for such a situation. At sea, everything can change in an instant and we must always be alert. Knowing our boats well, keeping safety equipment in good condition, informing the crew of the minimum they should know, and being prepared so that when the time comes, what we think depends on us does not depend on us but on others. Our crew members in the first instance, the neighboring ships, and the people who are always there in silence ready to ensure our safety at sea, the people of maritime rescue. In the end, this story, as in the Serranos, has only been a dream that has been able to come true thanks to the selfless help of many people, to a lot of work, and undoubtedly thanks to the maritime rescue personnel, the crews of the Helimer of the Vinci's company, the personnel of the maritime captaincies, all these people who depend on the Ministry of Transport and Sustainable Mobility, who work every day to prevent accidents at sea from turning into tragedies, and who have opted for this way of communicating, of transmitting, of informing, so that every day we go out to sea, we keep in mind that things can go wrong, that we have to be prepared, and that although they are there to take care of us, the best thing that can happen is that they do not have to do anything.